In September 2020, Nikola Corporation was valued at more than $20 billion. The company had gone public months earlier, promising to revolutionize trucking with hydrogen-powered semi-trucks. At the helm was founder Trevor Milton, a charismatic entrepreneur who compared himself to Elon Musk. But by September 2021, Milton had resigned in disgrace, facing federal fraud charges. By 2023, he was convicted and sentenced to 4 years in prison. This is the story of one of the most spectacular frauds in recent corporate history. Trevor Milton founded Nikola Motor Company in 2014, naming it after inventor Nikola Tesla. Milton had previously started a company called dHybrid that made natural gas storage systems for trucks. He sold that company in 2014 for $15 million and immediately pivoted to his new vision: hydrogen fuel cell semi-trucks that would produce zero emissions and be cheaper to operate than diesel trucks. From the start, Milton was a master salesman, posting constantly on social media and making bold predictions about Nikola's future. The company's flagship product was the Nikola One, a semi-truck that Milton claimed would be powered by hydrogen fuel cells, giving it a range of 800 to 1,200 miles. He showed off prototypes at industry events, attracting attention from major companies and investors. In 2016, Nikola claimed to have received $7 billion worth of pre-orders for the Nikola One. Milton promised the trucks would be in production soon, but behind the scenes there were serious problems. The company was burning through cash and was nowhere close to having a functioning truck. The prototypes shown at events were largely non-functional. They looked impressive, but they couldn't drive under their own power. In December 2016, Nikola released a promotional video titled Nikola One in Motion. The video showed the Nikola One truck driving along a desert highway, seemingly demonstrating that the company had a working vehicle. The video was pivotal in attracting investors and partners. It was shown to potential stakeholders, posted on the company's website and used in presentations. The problem was that the truck in the video wasn't actually driving. It was rolling down a gentle incline. The company had towed the truck to the top of a hill and filmed it coasting downward. There was no working drivetrain, no hydrogen fuel cells powering it. It was an elaborate deception, but one that would take years to come to light. Despite the lack of a functioning product, Milton continued to raise money and make deals. In 2020, Nikola went public through a merger with a special purpose acquisition company, or SPAC, called VectoIQ. This allowed Nikola to bypass the traditional IPO process and get onto the stock market quickly. The deal valued Nikola at $3.3 billion. After the merger, Nikola's stock price soared. At its peak in June 2020, the company had a market capitalization of more than $30 billion, briefly surpassing Ford Motor Company, despite having never sold a single truck. Milton's personal stake in the company was worth billions. He had become a billionaire on paper, and the media fawned over him as the next great innovator, but cracks were already forming. Short sellers and skeptical analysts began digging into Nikola's claims. They noticed inconsistencies in the company's statements about its technology and partnerships. Then, in September 2020, a short-selling research firm called Hindenburg Research published a damning report titled Nikola: How to Parlay an Ocean of Lies into a Partnership with the Largest Auto OEM in America. The report alleged that Nikola was an intricate fraud built on dozens of lies. It detailed how the Nikola One in Motion video was faked, showing that the truck was rolling downhill rather than driving. It revealed that Milton had lied about partnerships, exaggerated the company's technological capabilities, and made false claims about having working prototypes and production-ready vehicles. The Hindenburg report also exposed specific lies Milton had told. He claimed Nikola had built its own hydrogen fuel cell technology from scratch, when in fact it was using components from other companies. He said Nikola had developed its own battery technology, but it hadn't. He claimed to have a working natural gas truck called the Nikola 2, but it was also non-functional. The list went on. The report was meticulously researched and devastating in its conclusions. It accused Milton of being a con artist who had deceived investors, partners, and the public for years. Nikola's stock price plummeted after the report was published. Milton vehemently denied the allegations, calling them false and misleading. The company issued statements defending its technology and business practices, but the damage was done. Federal prosecutors and the Securities and Exchange Commission launched investigations into Nikola and Milton. Major partners, including General Motors, which had announced a $2 billion partnership with Nikola just days before the Hindenburg report, began backing away. On September 21, 2020, less than 2 weeks after the Hindenburg report, Trevor Milton resigned as executive chairman of Nikola. The company said it was to allow it to focus on delivering on its business plan without distraction. The investigations continued. In July 2021, federal prosecutors charged Milton with 3 counts of fraud for lying to investors about Nikola's technology and capabilities. The indictment alleged that Milton had made false statements on social media, in media appearances, and during podcast interviews to inflate the value of Nikola's stock. Prosecutors said he knew the Nikola One couldn't drive under its own power when the promotional video was released. They said he lied about having binding orders for trucks worth billions of dollars, when in fact the orders were non-binding, and many customers had no serious intention of purchasing vehicles. He exaggerated the company's progress on batteries, hydrogen production, and autonomous driving technology. All of this, prosecutors argued, was designed to artificially inflate Nikola's stock price and enrich Milton personally. Milton pleaded not guilty and prepared to fight the charges. His defense argued that he was an optimistic entrepreneur who believed in his company's vision, not a fraudster. They said the Hindenburg report was a hit job by short sellers trying to profit from Nikola's decline. But when the trial began in September 2023, the evidence against Milton was overwhelming. Prosecutors presented testimony from former Nikola employees who said they were pressured to mislead investors. They showed emails and text messages in which Milton acknowledged the company's technological shortcomings, but continued making rosy public statements anyway. On October 5, 2023, a jury convicted Trevor Milton on 3 counts of fraud. He was found guilty of 1 count of securities fraud and 2 counts of wire fraud. The conviction was a stunning fall for a man who had been hailed as a visionary just 3 years earlier. In December 2023, Milton was sentenced to 4 years in federal prison and ordered to pay a fine and forfeit $1 million. The judge said Milton's lies had caused real harm to investors. Milton maintained his innocence and said he would appeal. Meanwhile, Nikola Corporation struggled to survive without its founder. The company brought in new leadership and scaled back its ambitious plans to focus on battery electric trucks. In late 2021, Nikola finally began delivering its first trucks, the Nikola Tray, designed for short-haul routes. But the company faced continued financial challenges, production delays, and market skepticism. Its stock price remained a fraction of its 2020 peak. By 2024, Nikola was fighting for survival, cutting jobs and trying to raise capital. The Nikola scandal became a cautionary tale about the dangers of hype, the excesses of the SPAC boom, and the risks of investing in pre-revenue companies based solely on promises. It showed how a charismatic founder could attract billions in investment without having a viable product. It highlighted the need for greater scrutiny of companies making bold technological claims. And it demonstrated that even in an era of rapid innovation and disruption, the fundamentals of business still matter. Companies need real products, real customers, and honest leadership. The case also raised questions about the role of social media in corporate fraud. Milton had built his reputation largely through Twitter, where he had hundreds of thousands of followers. He used the platform to make sweeping claims about the company's technology and engage directly with retail investors. This allowed him to bypass traditional media and create his own narrative. But it also meant his false statements reached millions instantly, magnifying the impact of his fraud. Prosecutors cited numerous tweets as evidence, showing how Milton used social media to mislead investors systematically. The Nikola case was part of a broader pattern of electric vehicle startups that promised revolutionary technology but failed to deliver. Companies like Lordstown Motors and Faraday Future made similar bold claims, attracted significant investment, and then faced serious problems. The pattern revealed a troubling dynamic in the EV sector, where investor enthusiasm for the next Tesla led to insufficient due diligence. The SPAC boom of 2020 and 2021 amplified this problem by allowing companies to go public with minimal scrutiny and make projections that would not be allowed in traditional IPOs. For investors who lost money on Nikola, the collapse was devastating. Retail investors who bought the stock at its peak saw their investments evaporate. Some had invested their life savings, believing Milton's promises. Institutional investors also suffered significant losses. Lawsuits were filed against Nikola, Milton, and the banks involved. While some settlements were reached, many investors never recovered their losses. Trevor Milton's story is a reminder that no amount of marketing spin can substitute for the truth, and that fraud, no matter how sophisticated, will eventually be exposed. His conviction sent a message to other executives that misleading investors carry serious consequences. But it also serves as a warning to investors to look beyond the hype and demand evidence before putting money into speculative ventures. In an age of rapid technological change and ambitious startups promising to revolutionize industries, skepticism and due diligence are more important than ever. The Nikola saga shows what can happen when those safeguards fail, and when charisma and storytelling are mistaken for substance and achievement.